Okay, it's time to talk about getting your Spanish driver's license. It's one hassle for us Americans and Canadians that we have to get our license in Spain. You can't just exchange it. Many European countries allow you to exchange it, but for us, we can't. So we just went through the process. We passed the exam. We did everything. And we have our license, or the approval that we have our license. It should be coming in the mail anytime soon, the actual license. But I wanted to go over with you just a rundown of the costs and some tips that we learned along the way. And then later in the video, you can watch our updates through the process as we did them. So, but the beginning of this video is just kind of a summary for you about how much it costs and the tips that we learned to help us study. Many people are asking us about it, so we thought we'd just make a video. Okay, so let's get down to the costs. First of all, you have a registration fee, which covers your books and access to online exams, as well as practice exams at the school. That's about 40 euros. That's how much it was for us. So depending on where you are, 40, 50 euros for registration. And then you need a medical certificate before you take the written exam. The medical certificate tests your eyes and your reflexes, kind of, a weird little thing. And that also is 40 euros for us. So plus or minus 40 euros. And then you have the exams. You get 3 attempts to take the exam. It's 180 euros. So you can either have 2 written and 1 practical, or 2 practical and 1 written, but you can't use the 3 attempts for the same exam. So if you don't pass the written in the first 2 attempts, then you need to buy another 3-pack. So it's 180 euros for 3 attempts. And then you have driving lessons. Driving lessons for us were about 27 euros. That's about a 1-hour session. And they also sold offer packs for 250 euros. You get a 10-pack. Alan and I split one 10-pack. They let us do that. So it was a little more economical for us to do that. We know other people that have had to purchase the entire 10 for themselves. So the instructor kind of says when you're ready to take the exam and when you're not. So we'll get into more of that later, but you have your registration, your medical certificate, and your exam fees. All of that is about 260 euros, give or take. And then add on your driving lessons. So depending on if you do a few or if you do the Bono pack type thing, it could be upwards of 500 euros for one person to do everything. For Alan and I, it was 770 euros in total for both of us. And that's because we split the driving lessons. So those are the estimated costs, and we'll get into more about the tips. I'm going to go over a few tips that we learned along the way. One is just do it. Just get over it. Stop complaining. Just hunker down and do it. Pay attention and dedicate as much time as you can to studying, getting it over with. If you just let it linger on and do an hour here, an hour there, it's just going to take forever. So just do it. Get it done. Just every free moment you have, take those practice exams. Also, you want to learn from failure. Just keep taking the exams over and over until you start learning, until you see the familiar things. And if you miss something, make note of it and then study that piece that you didn't know, that wasn't intuitive for you. Use memory tricks. Like for me, I remember the maximum speed limit of each road because the minimum allowed is half. So if it was 90 kilometers an hour, minimum was 45. So try and teach yourself little tricks. You'll want to learn a few Spanish driving and parking terms, directions. So estacionar means to like parallel park in reverse. Parar is to park parallel but going in the nose first. You want to know left, right, straight, izquierda, derecha, derecho, and cambio de sentido to change your direction, all of that. Car parts, tires, batteries, etc. So just learn those terms, memorize them. You'll want to know how to drive a stick shift. Most cars in Spain are manual transmissions, so if you can learn a stick before coming or before taking the exam, all the better. There might be a few schools around that have an automatic transmission, so it's worth calling and asking and seeing if they do, and then perhaps you can use that. And then, do you really need those lessons, the driving lessons? I'll tell you what, we were kind of kicking and screaming, moaning and groaning like this is ridiculous, we have to take lessons. But the benefit, a couple of them actually, the benefit for us was, one, they took you on the exact routes that the examiner would take you on. So you get familiar with the area. For us, it was in another town, so that was beneficial for us. And also, it was letting us get used to the car that we will be testing in, getting used to that clutch and the arrangement and where everything is in that car. So we took only 4 lessons each before we took the practical exam, and that was enough for us. And then how long does it take? The absolute minimum in our town currently is 2 months, and that's exactly what it took us to the day. That's because the exams are only offered once a month. So we took the written exam, and then the next month we took the practical exam. They're talking about having twice a month. I would imagine in the bigger cities they should offer it more than once a month, I would think, with the volume of people. But for us, it was just once a month. So we didn't have a choice, and we didn't want to wait another month. So we were certain to pass those exams right away. But anyway, that's it. It's expensive. It's time consuming, but you can do it. So just do it. Okay, hi. We are going to give you an update on where we are with our Spanish driver's license. Back in, I think, September or October, we said we're going to focus on getting our license, and well, it just didn't happen. We did faithfully for a week take all the practice exams, and then we quickly realized it was going to take far more time than we had hoped. So instead, what I did was focused on writing the Driving in Spain ebook, which helped me study. So I've studied quite a bit with the road signs and the rules and the lighting and whatnot. So wrote the ebook, focused on that in Q4 of 2016. And now it's January, so Alan and I are heads down, focusing on obtaining our Spanish driver's license this first quarter of 2017. And what there is a written exam and a practical exam, a driving exam. And they won't just let you study and take the written. You need to take one of the many practice exams. Each practice exam has about 30 questions, and you can only miss 3 in order to pass. And at home on our computers, on our login, we have about 60 practice exams. And at the school, there's about 90 practice exams. And we've planned on going to the driving school every day this month in January, starting with the 10th or so, whenever school starts back. So that's the plan, and we will see how we do. But each exam takes about, I would say, 7 to 9 minutes to take. And from what we've heard from other people, we probably need to take at least 300 to 500 practice exams. So needless to say, it's almost like a full-time job. And then once we're finished with the written exam, of course we start taking driving lessons and have to drive on the road with the teacher. And then when we're ready, we go take the practical exam and hopefully have a driver's license in hand shortly thereafter. So that's the plan. We'll see what we do and keep you up to date with the progress. Bye. So we just spent another hour and a half?
Hour plus. Taking
practice exams at the driving school, and I did well on a few, and then I was awful. And how are you doing on them?
I ranged from exceptionally mediocre to not good at all.
And we're finding that a lot of the translation's off. And it's confusing us like how does this benefit fatigue, but really they're trying to say causes fatigue. So all of these things kind of mess with us.
We're keeping this G-rated, right, for everybody?
Do what you want to do.
That translation really bucks the beep out of me, so, but what are you going to do?
Anyway, I only took maybe 9 exams today, and probably in total over 100, but I think we have another few hundred to go. So we'll keep you posted.
Signing off.
Bye. Okay, so it's time for an update on the Spanish driver's license process. And the past couple of weeks, I've spent probably 30 hours, if not more, each week studying for the exam. And finally something clicked, and I'm starting to pass them left and right.
She is. I'm getting there.
And one of the tricks was when I didn't pass something, I would immediately retake it and then reinforce the right answers for the questions that I wasn't sure about and learn that way. So that seems to be helping.
That was a good idea.
Helping pass them. So we asked about signing up for the written exam, and it's now February 2nd, and we just signed up for the written exam sometime in the middle of February. But in order to sign up, we had to go through a few hoops for that as well. One of those hoops being getting a medical certificate, being certified by the doctor. So I'll let you explain what that is. And
right. So besides the standard vision test where you look at a chart and you see the letters and you read them off, there was a kind of a weird test. You sit at a gizmo that has 2 handles, one for each hand, T-shaped handles, and I'll throw a diagram up of what it looks like. But you've got essentially 2 lanes, or what look like lanes, that change direction, and you have to keep a white ball or circle in that lane as it's moving. So it's a little difficult to kind of get the left or right, and when you make a mistake and you get the ball outside of that lane, it beeps at you, and it keeps on beeping at you until you correct it. So that can kind of make you even more nervous. I was probably not very nice, and I made Heidi go first just so I could kind of see what she was doing. But she passed with flying colors, and I did as well. So that allowed us to get registered for the actual exam.
yeah, so we had the medical certificate, 180 euros each, passport photos, copy of our resident card, and the application to sign up for the written test. So as of this moment, February 2nd, we have no clue when the exam is other than mid-February. So hopefully in either tomorrow or Monday we'll find out, and the next update will be us telling you whether or not we passed that exam sometime in mid-February. So fingers crossed that we do, and we'll keep you updated.
Fingers crossed. Press thumbs, all that. Bye.
Okay, so today's the day we go take the written test.
Yeah.
One milestone hopefully complete by the end of the day, so we'll keep you updated and let you know.
Cross your fingers for us, please. Well, good news. We found out that we passed our written driver's test.
High five.
Hi cinco.
Hi cinco.
Hi cinco.
Alto cinco.
Alto cinco.
There's our Spanish
There's
for you.
our Spanish, right. What's interesting is we were doing this online, and the equivalent of the Spanish DMV, which is the DGT, it's Spanish, and when Google translates it, it comes up as apto is Spanish, and the translation is sufficient. So we're sufficient on our driver's test.
Right. So we went yesterday, and it was 30 questions, just like the practice test, but it was written, and we had to fill out like little bubbles to answer the questions. And I didn't have a good feeling after it was over.
Nor did I.
But it turns out you can only miss 3 out of 30 max, and so we both passed, flying colors. And now we move on to driving lessons, and then the practical exam with the instructor in the car. So still another full-time job for the next few weeks.
Right. And in the interest of the accounting, Heidi missed 1 and I squeaked in with 3, so I barely got it in. So, but no complaints. I passed.
You passed. So now we'll fork over who knows how much money for driving lessons, and I think they're 27 euros each for an hour, and they recommend 10. And then I don't think we have to pay for the practical exam. I think that's included in the 180 euros for the written and practical. So we'll see. Anyway, we're excited. It's celebration day. It's, I don't know, February.
Time to go buy some wine.
All right, bye.
Bye. Okay, so we just finished a driving lesson. It was myself, Heidi, and another student who doesn't have much experience driving, and I'll admit it was a bit scary. But anyway, we're progressing well. The instructor, Antonio, points out flaws here and there have been some interesting mishaps, but nothing major, so that's good. What do you think?
Well, all in all, we've had 4 lessons. We signed up for the exam, so that's coming up next week to take the driving exam, and we were probably ready after the second lesson. They, in fact, asked Alan if he was an instructor, so it's been good. The lessons aren't really for us to learn how to drive. It's more for learning the routes and the gotchas, like where the signs are double signed or the road markings are not there. And also getting familiar with the clutch in a different car is difficult because the car is tiny.
Right.
So for both of us, it's more compact and difficult. So just taking the lessons to get used to somebody else's car before we take the exam is worth the lesson in itself. So. So far so good, and next week we take the practical exam, so hopefully we will have a big old L on the back
for
of
learner.
Our window.
Not loser, but for learner.
Anyway, that's our update.
Wish us well. Bye for now. Alright, so we just finished our driving test, both of us, and do we give them the good news or the bad news?
Let's just tell them what we did for the day first.
Go ahead.
So we were told to be at the driving school at 7 o'clock in the morning. So we showed up there at 7, and there was one instructor there with 2 people, and he told us to wait for the next car, so we did. And by 7:30, 2 cars showed up, but there were 9 of us. Mm-hmm. So we were cramped inside these 2 cars.
Totally cramped.
To drive a half an hour away to Motril to the driving exam, and we get there to find out that we all are lined up. All the driving schools are lined up on the road, and there were 9 of us that had to do the driving exam, about 25-30 minutes each. And 8 of those 9 were driving in one car. So we had to take turns.
Right.
So what we thought was going to be a quick hour-long thing turned into 5.5 hours or something.
Like that. Something crazy.
So anyway, we were the last 2 to go out of the whole group. And I think we drove around 11:30 or 12:30, right in that range, and didn't get home until about 1:45. But we got preliminary results right afterwards, so we know how we did, and we found out official results later online. But I'll let you do the chatting on the results.
All right. So the bad news is it's a slog, but the good news is we both passed.
Woo! So we have 2 big L's to put in the back of the car, one at a time.
That's L for learner, not loser. Again.
And so anyway, we're excited. We officially have our license. It took exactly 2 months to the day. That is the fastest you can possibly do it here, because they only give the exams once a month. So we're going to do a video on the exact process, but that's our update. We officially have license, so yay! We're excited. All right, bye.
Bye.